you got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached. If that light goes off, you know that you're doing a good job, because you're fighting the Democrats and you're fighting the fake news.
U.S. President Donald Trump is calling on fellow Republicans to federalize U.S. elections, challenging long-standing constitutional norms. Speaking on a podcast, Trump urged Republicans to take over voting in what he called crooked states. He suggested that the federal government should nationalize elections in at least 15 locations across the country. Trump claims states were improperly counting votes, repeating unproven allegations tied to the 2020 election. He said states he believed he won, but later showed losses, fueling his continued insistence that the election was stolen. Trump pointed to Georgia, claiming new revelations would emerge after court-ordered access to ballots. Trump's comments came just days after an FBI raid on an elections office in Fulton County, Georgia. The search is part of a Justice Department probe into alleged voter fraud from the 2020 election.
The great, big, beautiful bill is just that. There are so many goodies in the bill, you have to get the word out, because the people in the back of the room won't do it. That's why I love live television, because they can't, well, sometimes they'll turn the camera off, but they're embarrassed when they do that. If we're going too strong and doing too well, if the lights go off, you know you're doing well. If the lights are on, you got yourself a problem, okay? I see that little red light. That light goes on. If that light, that's bad, isn't it? If that light goes off, you know that you're doing a good job, because you're fighting the Democrats and you're fighting the fake news. And it's amazing that they can be so stupid. And they don't have credibility anymore, and you can beat them. It's the old thing that, never fight the news, but you have no choice, because it's almost like they become radicalized. But you are fighting the news, but you can beat them. That's why I'm standing here. I had Kamala. I was beating Joe by 30 points, and then they changed him. That's like a fighter in the ring. He's losing, and they said, let's put somebody else in to take his place. Very unfair. They changed in the middle of the election. They said, he's going to lose, so let's give somebody else. And fortunately, she was just as bad as him. Probably slightly, I don't know. Would you say as bad or worse? Close, pretty close. But it took 6 weeks. There was a honeymoon period, 6 weeks. It took 6 weeks to find out that she didn't have what it takes. But you got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached. We don't impeach them. You know why? Because they're meaner than we are. We should have impeached Joe Biden for 100 different things. They are mean and smart. But fortunately for you, they have horrible policy.
The remarks come at a critical moment, with the U.S. heading into midterm elections this November. Trump has privately warned Republicans that losing the House could lead to his impeachment. Notably, he was impeached twice during his first term, though never convicted by the Senate.
Look what happened in New York City last night. For the first time in American history, an avowed, openly proclaimed socialist has been elected as the mayor of America's largest city. Zoran Mondani is, without a doubt, the biggest win for socialism in the history of the country, and it is the biggest loss for the American people. He is truly a committed Marxist. And the results of that race tell you everything you need to know about where the Democrats and their party are headed. From the backbench to their leadership, Democrats have fallen in line behind the socialist candidates. Hakeem Jeffries, as you know, is the highest-ranking Democrat in the House. He gave his full blessing to Mamdani and his socialist agenda. Chuck Schumer, the highest-ranking Democrat in the Senate and the highest-ranking Jewish leader in America, flirted with endorsing Mamdani all the way to the bitter end. Never mind the fact that Zoran has embraced anti-Semitic rhetoric and promised to arrest the Prime Minister of Israel if he visits New York City again. And then there's President Obama, who called Mamdani over the weekend to extend his praise and act as a sounding board for the young socialist. You can't make this stuff up. The man who made healthcare unaffordable with his own socialist scheme is advising the man whose false promises will surely make life unlivable for millions of New Yorkers who cannot afford to flee the city. As we said from this podium every morning, we talk about Mamdani for two reasons. It's a bellwether, because House Democrats, many of whom represent districts with much less blue than New York City, have embraced him with open arms. And because his brand of Marxism is truly a bellwether for the Democrats nationwide. We pointed out that other major metropolitan areas in the country are facing the same threat with candidates similar to Mamdani. And we're going to continue to call out their effort to mainstream and normalize socialism and Marxism in America. Working families watching this play out have a right to know that socialism and communism are not just confined in New York City. They are quickly coming to a town near you unless you stand up and let your voice of common sense be heard. While Democrats hitch their wagon to the socialist agenda, Republicans are going to continue to act in good faith on behalf of hardworking Americans. And we will remind a new generation of Americans about the painful and inescapable realities of history. We'll have much more to say about this in the days ahead. There were no surprises last night. I'll just summarize on the election, and then I'll yield to some of our sophomore stars here. There's no surprises. What happened last night was blue states and blue cities voted blue. We all saw that coming. And no one should read too much into last night's election results. Off-year elections are not indicative of what's to come. That's what history teaches us. By the way, it's worthy of note that Zoran Mamdani himself only received a little over 1 million votes, 1,036,000 votes. There are 8.3 million residents in New York City. 8.5 million, actually, is the number, I think. So about 12% of the city voted to turn their city over to the communists. We'll see how that works out. The lesson is that common sense Americans have to stay informed, you have to stay engaged, and you have to vote and let your voice be heard. But back to the urgent issue of this moment. Unlike our Democrat friends, Republicans know there's no prize for the milestone we've hit today. No one wins in a government shutdown.